Hello, everyone. Welcome to the last sessions for Hear from Peers for the spring 2024. Here we have Gwendolyn. She's a fourth-year PhD candidate in the English department with a focus on rhetoric and composition and also technical and professional writing. She uses a rhetorical genre studies approach to understand how these rhetors achieve their goals within the complex rhetorical situations of climate catastrophes, an important step for how publics are constituted. Additionally, she also engaged with critical animal media studies to reinforce the valuable perspective of rhetoric as more than human in media, in the classroom, and in the material lives of non-humans and humans. She has been working a lot with generative AI since last year, and here she is presenting her findings and her experience. Gwendolyn, please take the floor.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for attending at this very hectic time of the semester. And what I'll do now is, whoops, hold on, my notes went away. Let me hit escape. I think I forgot to. There we go. Let's try this real quick. Okay, is everybody seeing everything? Wonderful. Okay, so I want to talk to you today based on some information that I've gotten from a new book by Ethan Mollick. And he is a writer he has a new book coming out that I'll talk about. All the quotes come from him. And he is someone that I use to help me think through the things that are going on with generative AI. And what happened is he is not a technology expert, but he's a technology user expert. And he has become a prominent voice in this space. And I don't agree with everything he says, but I had some thoughts about things, and when I read his latest book, it just really aligns with some of the things that I've been thinking through myself. So, I wanted to put a little bit of myself and a little bit of him together, which I think is appropriate for co-intelligence, which is the name of his book. So, it's a reminder to right here, right now, be the human in this generative AI situation, and we're going to talk about co-intelligence in the writing classroom. So first thing you need to know is my positionality. As Armando was telling you, I am a PhD candidate with a focus on rhetoric and composition, and I have experience teaching writing at the high school level, but also at the college level. And my timeline is kind of interesting in that I taught our rhetoric and composition courses, 5 sections of it, and then I taught Introduction to Literature, 2 sections, and then I taught Technical and Professional Writing over the summer. And then it wasn't until the spring of 2023 that I taught English 210, Technical and Professional Writing, and I have it highlighted because that was the advent of AI for me. It was like, I have to learn this stuff. It's not going away. Now, I'm currently teaching technical and professional editing, and I'm taught that this semester, and I'm teaching it next semester. And that's important because it gets to my point of the fact is that we live in a world with AIs. And I want to show you a brief little clip that I think is interesting. I have not tracked this down to know if it's legit or whatever, but it has a perspective that I think is not something we have not come across. So let's see if I can get this to show real quick.
I made a website called My 10-Page Paper is at 0 pages right now. .com. And I made this website because I was assigned a 10-page paper and it's currently sitting at 0 pages right now. And instead of actually writing 10 pages, I made this website to do it 10 times faster. And I know what you're thinking. Why can't I just have ChatGPT write my essay? Because everyone knows that ChatGPT just gives you a bunch of yap and doesn't give you anything useful. This website detects when you get stuck and gives you a suggestion to get you to the next sentence. And I can just press tab to accept that. And while I'm writing, new ideas pop up on the right that I can just drag into my document to continue writing about. So if you're also sitting at 0 pages for some essay, I made a website.
Okay. So I find this so interesting in many ways because it's like she says, and I know what you're thinking. It's like, no, you don't. Because I'm thinking if you can build a website, why can't you just write an essay? But the thing is, this student, and I don't know if this is real or not, but it's a perspective that is showing she is working to her intelligence. And obviously, writing skills, excuse me, are something that doesn't come to her naturally, and it's almost like she doesn't value the writing process because it's a task to be offloaded. I also look at just how intelligent I mean, she is building her intelligence. And if that is a student who, looks at, again, a task that needs to be offloaded, that's writing, she's going to leave college. I mean, if you can build a website together that quickly, you obviously have some skills, and she's not an English major. So in many ways, I can't get angry or frustrated. I just think that is leveraging her intelligences to build her skills. But what Ethan Mollick is telling us, the fact is that we live in a world with AIs. And so if I click on, I looked for that my 10-page paper is at 0 pages right now. So I don't know if that was just an advertisement or what, but the point is that it leads you to AI content writing, essays written by AI, and homework help. And if you click on this, what you actually get is Grammarly, which I think we all pretty much accept, especially for non-native speakers. I suggest Grammarly. I mean, I don't have a problem with that, because if I were, say, in France trying to write in a language that I care deeply about and I will never be fluent in, I would use Grammarly as well. It doesn't diminish my ideas. But it's also offering you Claude, which I find very helpful in my own writing. So so far, so good. But then you've got this writing assistant, and it is where it actually gives you essays that are pre-written. So obviously that is a problem. And so these are the facts that we're dealing with. It is the world we live in now. And that means we need to understand how to work with them. So there are some academic tensions that are situated in this conversation. And so as English professors, and that's my positionality, is it's always, well, should we be policing? And none of us want to be police. We want to be teachers. And so there's an academic conversation about to enable or not enable AI detection software. And the thing about this is one size does not fit all. Meaning, when I taught 104, I didn't have to worry about AI, or I didn't know to worry about AI. It might have still been there, but for the really proficient digital native students. But now I have to worry about it. But the weird thing is, I'm teaching technical writing and I'm teaching editing. It does not factor into my teaching that much, meaning we are editing Wikipedia. We are editing clients. We solicit professors to give us their academic writing. So we are actually being the human. And the professors are asking us as a human to apply our editing skills. So AI just does not factor in there. So it feels a little artificial for me to situate AI into what I'm teaching this semester, even though I do think that AI is a form of critical literacy, meaning students will be expected to know how to use it, and they do need to have the ability to understand, critique, and if appropriate, use it for specific purposes. So that's a tension in my own teaching as well. Now, I've linked to 2 articles here, and basically testing of detection tools for AI generated text. It's just not that good. I mean, the consensus is from people who are studying this that available detection tools are neither accurate nor reliable, with a main bias towards classifying the output as human written rather than detecting AI generated. Now, that is the current research as I know it, and there seems to be a consensus around that. Of course, this is all ongoing and moves very quickly. But the point is, students are getting accused of it when they're not using it, and then the students who really know how to use it are getting by with it. So part of me is like, I would rather just say you can't beat them, join them, and teach it, and then show them, because I've seen in my own writing that I can get farther faster, and also know how to guide myself to make sure that I'm staying ethical and using that co-intelligence that Ethan Mollick's talking about. We also there's some thoughts that we're in a post-plagiarism era, meaning an era of human society and culture in which advanced technologies become a normal part of life, including how we teach, learn, communicate, and interact on a daily basis. So given that, that's where we are, folks. And so I'm just here to share how I'm dealing with this as someone who's trying to keep up with it as best I can amid the million other things that we're all trying to do. So Ethan Mollick says, if that's our world, we need to establish some ground rules. So what I'm trying to do, and this has to go back to my English 210 class, because that's when I really embraced it and was like, it's here, I have to deal with it. So what I did is I embraced audit trails. And those of you who have done any type of work with sociological methods, you know that audit trails are transparent descriptions of the research steps that you take, and they kind of they're records that are kept regarding what is done in an investigation. And so I came across an article that mentioned that. And I thought, you know what, that makes perfect sense. I want them to use it, but I'm more interested in how they use it and where it gets them and where they're starting from. So I developed some models in my class based on, let me show you this, based on stasis theory. I'm a rhetorician, so stasis theory, and this is what I presented last semester, and there's that talk if you want to see it in a little more detail. But stasis theory is a rhetorical strategy that goes way back, and it basically has 4 steps to it. And what you do is you establish the content's factual integrity. You can consider whether the content has appropriate depth, scope, clarity, etc. In defining the matter, you evaluate its content, such as appropriate tone, attitude, word choice, and then you plan your next steps. That's me. That keeps the human in the process. So what I told the students is, I said, if you use Gen AI in any capacity for any projects, please upload an audit report that follows the format of this model. And I told them I provided there, and let me know if you have any questions. And my students did this beautifully. I didn't get to refine it because I didn't teach the same thing next semester. But let me show you, then this is not totally clear, and I'd be happy to share any resources with you so you can see it a little quicker because we only get 15 minutes. But the model looks something like this. They had to name their technology, include a paragraph on the original idea that drove the research. They had to include a paragraph through the description of thought processes, and then they had to show how they went through the stasis theory. But I know, English teachers, what you're thinking is we already have to grade almost 30 essays. Why do we want them to add an audit trail on top of that? But I'm here to tell you, I skimmed these things because what I was really interested in was looking at their thought process now and how they used AI. So I threw up a very hasty model here. I told ChatGPT, I need a title for an academic presentation that's analyzing the need to address generative AI in college use, blah, blah, blah. It's 15 minutes. And here's what I'm thinking of doing. It has to include AI as part of digital information. It acknowledges the need to keep the human in the loop, so on and so forth. Basically, the presentation I'm doing today, I already knew what I wanted to do. I just wanted to see what ChatGPT would tell me. So that, as a teacher, I would be interested in how the student framed their request for an outline. And you may differ from me, but I don't care if the students get their outlines from ChatGPT because they still have to write the paper. And in fact, I look at that and say, let's look at this outline together in part of our writing conferences. So I ended up telling ChatGPT, I said, this is too granular. I only have 15 minutes. Please redo it using Ethan Mollick's 4 rules for co-intelligence. And it actually gave me a pretty good outline. Ended up not using it, but rather than sitting there, sitting blankly, it got my thinking started. And so I am okay with students using it that way. And in fact, that was a co-intelligence between me and ChatGPT. It was my ideas. It was just trying to help me out kind of as a tutor. So I'm okay with that type of thing. And if I were to do the class again, I would build it on co-intelligence and maybe moderate that audit trail a little bit more. So what is co-intelligence? Ethan Mollick talks about it as something remarkably close to an alien type co-intelligence, meaning it's truly a new form of intelligence that we've created, and it can interact with humans without being human, and it augments or potentially replaces human thinking to dramatic results. So, but we have to remember, it's built to assist us. So right here, right now, AI is not taking over at the moment. We are still driving the bus. Now, there's questions on whether that's going to be that way in the near future, but right here, right now, we should not be frightened of this in our classrooms. We should use it, is my thing. So here's what he tells us. He has 4 principles, and he says, always invite AI to the table. So barring illegal and unethical uses, of which there are plenty, and that's why we're guiding our students, experiment in AI in everything you do. And that's both the collective you, but it's also, I'm talking to you as a professor, because there's still people in our English department that says, I don't know how to use ChatGPT. I don't know how to use Claude. You have to use it. I mean, this is my personal opinion, but you have to use it because you need to understand your audience, and your audience is using it as a general rule. Now, I had honor students who were petrified of using it because they did not want to get in trouble, and I had to actually like not drag some of them, but just coerce them as like, try it out while I'm here and I know you're not misusing it, because I want you to know that. And I didn't force anyone to use it. I just opened it up as you could, but I would never force a student to use it. But familiarize yourself with its capabilities so that it allows for understanding its current strengths and weaknesses. And remember that it sees the world in tokens rather than words. Tokens are a really interesting part of this. Tokens are both every single piece of the word, its prefixes, its suffixes, its root words, but it's also the world that is built around the words, which is why it can do what we can't do. It immediately can go through there and spit out so much stuff because it is trained on that. That's the awe-inspiring part of it, is the tokens versus the words. So in that way, you become the expert for using AI in your realm. I don't know how biologists use it, but I know how you can use it in the writing process, which is the niche that I'm carving out for myself. And then also, again, point of the talk, be the human in the loop. AIs are great at guessing, but humans have to be using these as tools, not crutches. So being the human means to maintain the importance and expertise in the operation of these complex systems. And that's where I think stasis theory is a really nice match to this, because it makes me constantly interrogate. And one thing I forgot to show you that I love that I did with this is I have this little rubric here that I created. So if you come across a fact that AI gave you, who created these facts? Because we all know facts are created. Why include these facts over other facts? Why did the AI give you that? Is it ignoring other facts? What's the quality? What are critical priorities revealed and certain stances are privileged? Because it's all in there. So I forgot that I give them that, and that this rubric right here has been really helpful for them to interrogate their AI offerings. And the third principle was treat AI like a person, but tell it what kind of person it is. Now, I know this is controversial because we have been told prior to this is not a person, do not anthropomorphize it, but actually, to use it the best, you should. Working with AI is easiest if you think of it as an over-eager intern who wants to please you. It's better at mimicking a human than acting like a machine at this point. And it's not an expert in anything, but it mimics the language and the style of experts, which can be both helpful and misleading, which is why you have to have an interrogation strategy. And then to make the most of this relationship, you have to develop a clear, specific AI persona. Tell it who it is and what it's trying to do. So I always start off with, you are this helping me do this within these constraints based on this quality of this criteria as my quality marker. So when you start developing good prompts, then it's really trying to please you, and you don't just throw trash in there, because trash in is trash out usually, and we all know that. Or garbage in, garbage out is what they say. And then lastly, if I want you to remember that, assume this is the worst AI you will ever use, because what's happening right now is the power of the exponential curve. We are feeding data and feeding data and feeding data. And when you look at the scaling law hypothesis, that's why these AIs are exploding in capabilities at a very quick pace. It's only going to be more powerful from here. So if the possibility of developing artificial general intelligence turns out to be real and achievable, the world will be even more transformed in the coming years, not decades, the next few years. And we will hopefully still be professors during this time. So we've got to be on board with this. I'm not on board. I'm not saying don't push and pull, but you've got to know what's going on. And we'll be living with increasingly powerful alien co-intelligences and the anxiety and loss that that induces. We have to realize there's some of that going on. So AI will transform our work, our lives, and our individual personal selves, and it'll do that for the students as well. We're just now glimpsing the beginning of that. So I was thinking, like, for future topics, if anyone were interested or wanted to collaborate, I would love to see the efficacy of stasis theory in the audit trails. I didn't get a chance to fully develop that. I'm also interested in case studies of students using those. And then I'm super interested in teaching prompts in a writing course. So those are things that I'm just trying to develop in my own pedagogy. So, but there's my email if anyone is interested. I went a little bit over 15 minutes, but I think that still allows us plenty of time for discussion. So Thank you.